All right, I'm back. My name is Jake, and welcome to another episode of Off the Post. Normally, we've been calling these opinion pieces, but I'm actually trying to rebrand, I guess. We're going to start calling these Jake's Takes. So, this is a weekly segment, hopefully. I'll be breaking down the game of the week that we've chosen. If you follow us on Twitter, Woso Off the Post, we actually pick out a game, and Jen Hayes, she actually runs a Twitter feed of the games and does a kind of a play-by-play breakdown so you can follow along. And now I'm following up, batting cleanup, so breaking down the game after the fact. So hopefully you enjoy this type of series. I'm actually breaking down this week's game is the Orlando Pride versus the Houston Dash in the historic first game, first home opener for the Orlando Pride. Sorry for my late start time. I was supposed to start 10 minutes ago, but duty calls as a father. So sometimes newborns don't pay attention to start time. So anyways, moving on. As I started with last week, we will start with the lineup. So actually, let's see if I can get that picture up there. And we'll start with Orlando. Boom. All right. So here's how they started. This week, I've actually added some arrows to kind of give us an idea of where their movement was during the game itself. As you can see, Catley and Belanger on the wings, they are very aggressive wing backs. They like to push forward at every opportunity. And Kaylin Kyle, she actually likes to split the two center backs and drop back and pick up possession. And actually, when this happens, when Kaylin Kyle pushes back and Catley and Belanger move forward, it kind of creates a de facto 3-4-3, very attacking oriented lineup and structure. It was actually interesting in this game. Alex Morgan, we kind of know her on the national team as someone who stretches the field, keeps us vertically stretching the other team. But for the Pride in this game, she actually played a lot with her back to goal. She would end up dropping in and trying to connect with teammates and dragging a center back out of position. And when she did that, especially on the left side, you'd see Jasmine Spencer. She would switch kind of positions with Morgan and leave that space that Morgan would vacate and push higher forward. It was very interesting to see. For Houston, on the other hand, they had a little bit of a struggle because almost immediately they had to deal with a lineup shift. So this is how they started, at least. For Kalia Ohai was Morgan Bryan, and that ended up pushing Carly Lloyd up top. In the preseason, Randy Waldrum had really talked about how Carly Lloyd might be experimented at with center forward. And in this case, it was interesting because on the road, you kind of want a little bit more solid midfield. With Carly Lloyd, at least, she was tracking back a bit to break up that connection for Kaylin Kyle in that pocket of space. Daly and Becky obviously will push forward and pinch inside. And actually, when that happens, and Carly Lloyd would drop in a little bit, it would kind of create like a diamond midfield almost, and just a really wide set of strikers. But unfortunately for Carly Lloyd, she got injured really early on, and we had Kealia Ohai coming back on. And she is a different type of striker and really changed the way that Houston's strike force kind of moved across the field. Ohio was more about stretching the field, putting pressure up high early, and it left this kind of pocket of space I highlighted in the square space where Kaylin Kyle really got that beyond the ball, especially early in the first half. And as you can see, that's going to be my next image, actually. First half, not a whole lot going on. We see that in this scenario, we got the two center backs really far wide. Kaylin Kyle has dropped in and collected possession. And she really has a pocket of space to operate. We see, I kind of picked out this line of Houston's confrontation line, I guess I would call it. You can see Morgan Bryan and Andressa are actually pretty close to that line. It just happened that I just picked up on this coloration of the field turf. And this is kind of where they dropped off and let her have a little bit of space, Kaylin Kyle. But when they were pushed back like that, it clogged up passing lanes and really forced her down the wing instead of being able to combine through the middle. And actually, as you can see in the next picture, she, as soon as Kayla and Kyle pushed forward close to that line, Morgan Bryan or Andressa were closing her down, putting pressure on her, trying to keep her from going forward and being positive. First half kind of dour, so to speak, kind of a, not necessarily a dud, but both teams are kind of cagey, not a lot of good play going on. The best chances for Orlando, especially, they really came when they were able to combine with Alex Morgan up top. And as I said earlier, she was playing with her back to goal. And as you can see in the circle space, she was really dragging Ellie Brush all over the field. It seemed like Ellie Brush was kind of doing a man marking or a woman marking job on her. She would follow Morgan. Moros would stay, keep the shape of the center in the center there. Also, what I've got highlighted is Jasmine Spencer. She is really in this half space here, keeping Poliana occupied. And what we, with Spencer being in that space, it really made sure that Poliana was not able to stay wide and attack forward as much. And for those of you who don't know what a half space is, this half space that I was talking about, so it's just another way of breaking down the field. So there's a left channel, a center channel, and a right channel, and then the blue space that's highlighted is actually the half channel. So in this situation, we see Morgan's in the middle, Jasmine Spencer's tucked in on the in that half space there. Edmonds remains out wide. So the thing with Houston is Poliana really likes to attack aggressively. So with having Spencer in that space, she has to make a decision on how far wide she will go. And with Spencer really tucked in that far, she has to kind of follow her. So that really negates her attacking ability. Edmonds, on the other hand, she's matched up against Chapman. Chapman doesn't aggressively attack as much as Poliana. She's more connected with her defense. But since Edmonds is out wide, she has to make a decision on whether or not to track her wide or stay connected. And then, especially with Chapman, when Belanger gets forward as well, it really creates an overload opportunity. It makes her have to make some really quick decisions. So in that play that we were just looking at, Alex Morgan is able to lay the ball off to Spencer in space, and she begins to run at Poliana. And since Poliana is tucked inside with her, that left a ton of space for the overlap. And Steph Catley was up and down that wing all game long, and that's where they found the most success during this game. Especially in this play, it actually led to a really good opportunity. Catley gets on the ball and she plays across to Kristen Edmonds at the back post, and resulted with a save from Lydia Williams that went out of bounds. And Edmonds she was jumping up and down. She really knew she should have finished it. It was such a great cross, and she met it really well, but unfortunately for them, not to be. So that's kind of the story of the first half. Moving into the second half, right off the gates, that Leanne Sanderson substitution, they brought her in for Danny Weatherholt. I think with Weatherholt, she was probably in there a little bit to keep things solid in the midfield. They're probably worried about Carly Lloyd, so they're playing someone a little bit more defensive-minded. But once Carly Lloyd came off the field, they brought in Sanderson and immediately were on the front foot, putting pressure on that defense. As you can see right off the kickoff, actually, I don't know, maybe they were given a rousing halftime team talk by Coach Shermani, but right away, the ball is circulated back to Moros, but Orlando's offense is really starting to swarm on her, putting pressure. And actually, if you look down at the touchline, the ball is intended next for Chapman. And you can see her arm is pointed down because she wants that ball in front of her, because she has a ton of space in front of her. So if Moros is able to play that ball, she can go into the attack. But Moros gets overwhelmed a bit and actually plays it behind her, and it results in a throw-in. And as we can see from the throw-in, it's not necessarily the worst situation. Really only Leanne Sanderson's making that run across the field. Moros is tucked in because Chapman's out of play at the moment, not ready to face this throw. But since Moros is way over there, Brush is still pretty far wide from the kickoff. Nobody has picked up Alex Morgan, who has 20 yards of space where no one is around her, and that's really where the danger in this play really started. And as we can see from the throw-in, I clicked on one. As we can see from the throw-in, it's going to make its way to Alex Morgan. And at this point, Alex Morgan has seen Becky Edwards as she's making a run into the box. And she's intelligent enough. She can feel that pressure from Brush on her back. So she knows that if she's able to meet it first and flick it over her, she will have a runner going into that space. And there's a ton of space in behind Brush at that moment. And that's where the danger really starts. Bad positioning from Houston on this quick throw. We're still only about 30 seconds into the second half. This is kind of criminal defending almost. And as you can also see on the far side, Jasmine Spencer's also making that run. And we will actually see that she actually beats Becky Edwards to that ball and is able to get an initial shot off. Now, at this point, Houston's not terrible, but not great. Pollyanna is in front of her. Moros is back in position, but you'll notice that actually Andressa is actually back too on Becky Edwards at this point. But at top of the box, the problem for Houston is that Alex Morgan has turned Ellie Brush and has quite a few yards of separation between her. Chapman's also tracking back, but she's on the wrong side of her. Wrong side being not in between Alex Morgan and the goal. So, at this point, they're really scrambling to pick up Alex Morgan. And at this point, Jasmine Spencer's on the ball from her block shot, but she still is in possession. And she actually makes a really intelligent, smart move. She's going away from goal. Pollyanna's in front of her, and she can see that Alex Morgan is making that trailing run behind her. And with one simple back heel, she is playing in Alex Morgan into that goal. And now you can see that I've highlighted Andressa because she's going to be making the fatal touch, unfortunately. But really, this is all because Alex Morgan is not being tracked effectively by Ellie Brush. And once we get to the next image, you'll see, one pass has really killed the Houston defense. They've all sucked over on Jasmine Spencer trying to keep her from shooting. One simple pass. Alex Morgan has more than half of that goal to shoot at, and she's almost in the 6. So that's really criminal. And I mean, at this point, you really expect her to score, even though she doesn't. Because Chapman actually gets a bit of a challenge on her. She actually does recover, gets her off balance, mishits her shot. It still could have bounced to Becky Edwards. Andressa tries to deal with the situation, but since it's a mishit, she hits her own touch, and it kind of squirts into the open net because Lydia Williams is not expecting that bad touch. So, it's unfortunate for Andressa because she worked so hard to get back with Becky Edwards, but originally on the throw-in, not being set for the first half for the quick play, Orlando really deserved to go ahead early in this one, in the second half anyway. And really, Leanne Sanderson kind of led that charge throughout the half. First half, Alex Morgan was up by herself. No one was really putting pressure on that defense. They were happy to sit back and kind of clog up passing lanes and keeping Morgan Bryan and Andressa and Amber Brooks off the ball. But second half, Leanne Sanderson really leads the charge, and that's actually Becca Moros on the ball that she's closing down, and she's actually higher up the field than Alex Morgan. So really a shift in tone for Orlando that first 10, 15 minutes where they're really high pressing, getting pressure on that ball quickly and not letting them play effectively out of the defense. Second goal comes a few minutes later. Another kind of almost criminal defending decision again. Alex Morgan gets a long ball hoofed up to her, and she takes it down. She's facing away from goal. She's going to be playing a negative pass. There's no reason to be sticking your foot out and trying to win this ball. But again, Ellie Brush overcommits, fouls Morgan, and now it's a dangerous situation. And Leanne Sanderson is actually really intelligent because this is a very heads-up play of her. As you can see, she immediately runs over to the ball, and at this point, you can even see she's already discussing with the official. She can take it quickly, and almost everyone on the field is switched off. Alex Morgan actually wants that ball, I think, played early quickly. But Sanderson's, she only has her mind's set on one thing and one thing only. And as you can really see in the next picture from the replay, her head's down. She knows exactly what she's doing. None of her teammates even know what's going on around her. Jasmine Spencer's not even checked into the situation at all. But for Leanne Sanderson, she's really smart in picking up this play and being aggressive on that free kick. And as you can see, when the ball comes in, Lydia Williams is glued to that post because she's setting up her wall. It's just really smart heads up play from Sanderson to take it early and catch Houston off guard. And again, not the prettiest goal necessarily, but it's smart heads up play, and Houston kind of shoot themselves in the foot by making a couple mistakes before the play sets up. Here we go. A few minutes later, here comes the third goal. Another ball out wide to Spencer. Poliana is isolated. Catley's aggressively overlapping again. And in the middle, we see that Morgan originally starts with Alyssa Chapman as she makes her run across the box. You can see that Chapman's pointing at Morgan. She's actually within arm's reach. So actually, that's not terrible defending at the moment. But as we can see in the next picture, Moros has started to pick her up. And by starting to pick her up, I mean she's pointing at her, which if you remember last week's breakdown, pointing at someone is not the same thing as getting your body on them and putting pressure on them. So Jasmine Spencer's isolated out wide with Poliana. You can see really Steph Catley's really making that aggressive run forward. And danger is about to cascade on Houston. So Jasmine Spencer has played this overlap to Catley, and at that moment, Alex Morgan is on her. She's on her horse, and she has got a huge amount of separation between her and Moros at this point. And Moros is at least 5 yards away, and there's no way she's going to be able to catch up. Alex Morgan is really looking for that diagonal drop pass, which is actually going to be coming from Steph Catley here in a second. As we can see, ball comes in, still 5 yards of separation between her and Alex Morgan, who's almost in the 6. So that's, again, not what you want when you're defending against the USA's top striker at the moment. So, again, here we go. She gets the shot. It's low and hard. It's in the goal. Moros is nowhere near close enough to address the situation. So, again, that was, I think, the best goal from Orlando in terms of as a nice fluid play. Alex Morgan made a great run, got some great separation. They were effective with their overlap, and that was the prettiest of the goals in my opinion. Even though Sanderson's heads up play was smart, it wasn't as fluid and as pretty as that third goal. Houston did get a chance to get back in this game. Again, here we go with throw-ins. Orlando is actually pretty well set up. They got a pretty nice line back there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people back. Houston doesn't have a lot going forward. Andressa makes a nice run towards the throw-in, gets a 2v1 situation, which she takes advantage of. Becky Edwards actually dives in early, which is a little strange that she was so quick to go to ground, but because she missed that, tons and tons of space around her between Andressa and the next defender. At this point, you would think Kaylin Kyle would be the next one to step forward. It's one of those things you don't really know if it's best to step out as quickly because you have really good defensive shape. You're probably thinking it's 3-0. Let's keep our shape. Don't really run at her just in case you get pulled out of position. Whatever it was, she didn't close her down very quickly. And as we can see from here, she is about to take her shot. There's at least 5 to 7 yards of space in between her and Kaylin Kyle. Now, on the other hand, Andressa is a very confident person because this is quite a distance from goal. This is 25, 30 yards out, and she's taking a shot against one of, I think, one of the top 2 or 3 goalkeepers in the U.S. and Ashlyn Harris. So you would bank on Harris to be able to get across her goal and save that, but it goes upper 90, and it was quite the golazo from Andressa, and it was it was a worthy goal, but at that point it was a little bit too little, too late. At that point, so 3-1. Orlando just defends out the rest of the game, and everything works out, and it's a great night for the fans. And I'll just end on this image. Really great to see that so many fans out there in Orlando, and it was really nice to have them break the attendance record and really push a team like Portland to really sell out more and really bring in more fans. So that's all I have for today. I really enjoyed watching this one again. We will be back next week. Actually, I'm just looking at my notes. It's our pick of the week is actually Western New York versus Washington. So that'll be the 3rd home opener in a row that Jen Hayes will be looking at. First home game for Western New York, and it'll be against the perfect Washington Spirit. So it'll be a great game to watch, and we'll be back next week with our breakdown of the weekend's results, and I'll be back with another breakdown here on Jake's Takes. So thanks for watching, and if you have any comments on my analysis, share them in the comments below. So thanks, and have a good night.